Welcome, everybody. We are back with an interview, and we have a returning guest, Chris, who was on last time. He was debuting Human Fly last time we talked, right? It was the first.
I was indeed. We had the first series we were doing then. Yep, issues 0 to 5,
Right.
Which will be coming out in the trade paperback within weeks.
And where can everyone get that here? So in the States, where can we get
it? Your comic book stores will have it.
There you go. So if you missed Human Fly individual issues, you can get the trade, but you have a new comic coming out that also involves the Human Fly. Tell us a little bit about this new crossover kind of battle.
It's sort of a crossover. It's a lot of fun. And look, what happened was we did the first series of the Human Fly, and we were very pleased with it because we set the basic building blocks of a return of the Human Fly up. And it's the Human Fly not in the 70s, but in the here and now. But we did harken back to the 70s.
Right.
But one of the things we did in that series too, the guys that own the Human Fly now, who have a company called Human Fly International. One's a Canadian, Tony Babinski, who knows the whole Legend of the Fly well from his childhood on TV. And the other's Alan Brewer, a Los Angeles-based producer. Those two gents, part of the agenda they gave us, they said, look, we've thought about the Fly and the Legend of the Fly as such. There's a lot more layers to it, and we like you guys doing the comic to know our thoughts on that, and you can help peel back the layers. So in that first series, attentive readers will note there were a few scenes where we saw the Fly handling artifacts that he had stored away, and there was another character, a nefarious character, interested in artifacts that appeared to suggest some sort of historical presence of a character or characters that looked like the Fly or that had markings like the Fly. Like the Fly's got that white cross in the mask design, right, which the real stuntman had. And it kind of looks like almost like an old heraldic shield with a right cross on it. And we dropped a few clues about that in that first arc. Well, now we're going to lift the lid in Series 2, which is up for crowdfunding at the moment because we're doing it a bit differently, and I'll get into that. But the revelation is the Human Fly is a legacy character. Like other literary characters, like, for example, the Green Hornet is part of a tradition that involves the Lone Ranger. You know, Lone Ranger and Tonto, Green Hornet and Kato, they're actually a family connection 100 years apart. You've got characters like, Marvel's got a lot of legacy characters. Yep.
Ghost Rider's a big one that they've had.
Ghost Rider's one. That's Iron Fist. There's a League of Iron Fists going back, etc. DC has got, Dr. Fate goes back centuries, etc. So, and then other companies like the Phantom's a famous one. Right. There's a 500-year legacy. Blah blah blah. So the legacy tradition of characters with a noble motive, that's nothing new.
And this is your idea, the legacy, making it a legacy?
This came from Tony and Alan, primarily Tony. They said, look, this is something, we'd like to do. And look, we love this because it was perfect, because when you think about it, because one of our big things that we keep saying as a slogan, because we can, is he's the only superhero who's real.
Right.
Now, so there was a real stuntman in a human fly costume in 76 and 77, and maybe a little bit more. But what has been commented on publicly and is completely true, there was more than one guy wearing the mask back then.
Didn't know that.
There was. And there's even one guy, I don't know if you remember that Marvel human fly story, it was one of the last 2 or 3, where it was set at a rock and roll concert and some bad guys try to assassinate the lead singer of a big stadium-sized rock band. And we see the Fly in his caravan playing guitar in his downtime.
Right.
And then at the end of that issue, the Fly steps on stage with the band and plays, right?
Right.
Now that reflects in the real world. There was a music guy wearing a human fly outfit. And if you Google Cyndi Lauper and human fly, you'll find an article in the Guardian newspaper from a few years back where this is all, she spills the beans.
Okay, interesting. I have no idea there was a real guy who played the guitar too.
So the bit in the Marvel continuity, and therefore, because our continuity embraces everything fly, there's a fly with a musical angle, there's multiple flies under the mask. So Tony Babinski says, we've got a legacy here, and he gave us a couple of secret elements that will come out even further down the line. And we said, this is perfect. Real life, true superhero, real human being, more than one guy behind the mask. Our comic book, Series 1, there's a fly in 2025. There was clearly a fly in 76, 77.
Right.
We made the point in that first arc, in issue 0, in fact. You may recall the Fly does a stunt in issue 0 at Montreal Stadium, that awesome big circular stadium, right?
Right.
Visually stunning structure. Now, that was fun for us because the 76, 77 Fly had done a deadly stunt there, right? So
buses, right? He jumped over the buses there?
That's right. And we had Justin Trudeau. I mean, this is how real life sometimes rewards you, Chad. So back when the Fly was doing stuff in 76 and 77, Justin Trudeau's father was the PM. So we had Justin Trudeau because he was the Prime Minister at the time issue 0 came out. And we had a little bit of banter in the comic, which I won't give away. All you fans out there, get that trade paperback. You'll see that interchange. So our continuity, there's a connection between the Fly and the Fly then. Is it the same guy? Won't say. I'm not going to say anything. Is he long-lived, super fit? I'm not going to say. But I'll just say we're seeding the story elements there. So we had this, and then Tony and Alan, Human Fly International, said, can you lean in to the secret bigger picture? And we said, great. So we sprinkled the clues. Now we started to make decisions about Human Fly Series 2.
Okay.
And here's where the elements got even more fun. We had ages ago decided Jim Krueger would write Series 2.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that he was writing it.
So the book that is up on Kickstarter right now, Human Fly versus Dracula, is written by the Jim Krueger.
That's fantastic.
We're
I didn't
halfway
realize it was
through.
him.
So if you guys can get this out, we've got 2 more weeks. We're halfway through the crowdfunding. it's that Jim Krueger right here. But we wanted Jim's a pal of mine. We wanted Jim to write this almost from the beginning. Yeah, Jim and I used to talk. I'm not making this up. Jim and I used to talk Human Fly. We were Human Fly fanboys before IPI Comics had the deal. When I was just friends with Alan Brewer and Tony Babinski.
Right.
Huh? And Jim dug the character, I dug the character. So we've got Jim lined up to do Series 2, and that is live on Kickstarter right now. And we had a lot of different story ideas in the pot, and Jim said, Human Fly Dracula, and what about every issue a different era in time and a different Human Fly? But of course, Dracula's immortal,
Right.
so they're fighting the same Dracula.
Oh, that's a great idea. Where can they go to do the funding? What's
if you just chuck in Kickstarter and type in Human Fly Dracula, it'll come up straight away.
Okay.
And it's halfway through. We've already surpassed the halfway point in the funding target, but people, we've got a lot of cool extras there. So we're going to publish Volume 2 via crowdfunding. Now, so Jim said this, it was perfect with what Tony and Alan wanted for the legacy tradition. It was perfect for second series to expand in more detail on what are some of these other Human Flies looking like, doing whatever. And Jim comes, look, when the outline for the story came in, my publisher, Jerry Huntman, flipped. He said, this is great. The only thing he flipped about more was the script for issue 1. It's the genius you expect from Jim Krueger. It's really really gripping, really clever. He's got powerful emotional hooks that bring you into the story from the very first scene. You're going to care a lot about this Human Fly. And what he's up against and what he's dealing with and what he deals with his entire life, let alone Dracula. And this is great. So Jim, and I can lift the lid on this because this is explained on the Kickstarter, 4 issues, 4 different time periods.
Okay, that's good.
1776. 1929, 1977, Disco Infernal. So our 70s Fly, Marvel, real life, etc. He closes out the story, and there'll probably be a cameo by the 2026, 25, 26 Human Fly as well. So this is, and I left one out. What did I leave out? I have to.
Who's the artist?
Now, the artist is a guy who did the backup story in Human Fly issue 0. He's an Aussie called Peter Lawson.
Okay.
And he did a really terrific 8-pager in issue 0. And he's been doing indie comics down here for a few years. And that's how I met him.
Right.
I met him on a weekly chat group of fellow Aussie comicers, and he was on that. And I knew some of the indie comics he was doing. He was doing a bunch of stuff for a bloke down here named Gary Della, who has a publishing company called Reverie Comics, and he publishes a few different books. And Pete was doing some work for that. And we were chatting one week and it was like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? And Peter stuck up some of his artwork on the screen on the Zoom chat we were having.
Right.
And my eyeballs fell out of my head. Because it was like, you're doing this and you haven't been snatched by the big boys yet. My God, can you please work for us That was what was going through my head, because I just thought, this guy's great, and his work deserves a wider audience. And so we chatted. It started off with, would you like to try out on a short story for him to fly backup stories to zero? He did it. We were blown away. Tony Babinski, who wrote that short story for issue 0, he was blown away. Alan Brewer was blown away. So, yeah, and all you folks who are watching this, if you look at the Kickstarter, you will see a few pages of Peter's gorgeous art in a nice creepy scene in 1776. Hang on, I always get this mixed up, Chad.
Yeah.
You got the Civil War, and you've got the American Revolution, but they're not the same thing. That's right. The Civil War's 76, isn't it?
We have no war in 76. Right.
Sorry. What's the year?
1776?
Is it 1747?
So, this 1776 we become the country. So, yeah,
that's right. Yeah, yeah. And what's the Civil War?
Is it all? Where are they? Where are they set? Where in the world are they set? Are they all set?
Well, what's the town Paul Revere lived in?
He lived in Boston.
So you'll see the fly in Boston.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So look, yeah. So, and apologies, I'm not up on. I'm having a seniors moment on my American history. You asked, yeah. But yeah. So Jim picked those key points: Civil War, Revolution,
right?
The stock market crash of 29.
Yep.
Yeah. So he was quite artful about his choices, and then he's gone in and picked interesting little details, which I won't reveal, about circumstances going on in relation to that exact place and that exact historical moment that complicate the poor old human fly's efforts to try and deal with Dracula. So there's turmoil, there's historical context. It's gorgeous stuff. So all this is up on a Kickstarter. There's a beautiful sample scene. I would be very remiss if I didn't mention 2 other people. The colorist is another Aussie who's done some stuff down here and some international comics as well. Graham Jackson. His stuff is really sophisticated, really beautiful. He's one of those guys, and he'll come up with clever suggestions to enhance a scene with an effect or smoke or reflections or whatever, He's not just a passive colorist.
Right.
He's into, let's make the whole thing the best it can be. So
are you going to do, one of my favorite things about the Human Fly you did already is I love the homage covers that you guys did. The fantastic idea that you did that. Are you carrying on with some kind of homage variant covers?
Look, you got it in one. Can I say John K. Snyder?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you want homage covers?
Yeah.
John K. Snyder? You're going to love what he's got. So we'll have 2 or 3 covers per issue. We'll have John K. Snyder covers. I think we're going to probably have Peter Lawson covers as well. We've certainly got a Peter Lawson and Graham Jackson poster style image on the Kickstarter now. Hopefully I won't get into trouble for saying this as well. But there's an artist called Jamie Johnson, Jaime Johnson.
Okay.
A female artist. Now, she did a whole heap of work, amongst other things. She did a powerful amount of work in the uplift of Jim Starlin's Dreadstar as a
I
book.
love Dreadstar.
Yeah. So she made colouring and art contributions to that. We've been talking to her about doing a special cover for it as well. Now, and we're just in the early stages of tying that down. But hopefully I won't get in trouble. She said yes.
Okay.
And we might get a sketch from her for the Kickstarter. But it'll have. But I have to say this because it's too cool for school. Jamie is of Romanian extraction, and there's talk in her family that they've got connections to the Dracula family.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
Got Dracula's granddaughter doing the art on a Dracula comic. That's fantastic.
Exactly. And look, this is the other part of us approving this and moving forward, and Jim's approach to it, and Tony and Alan from Human Fly International, their kind support of this idea in Jim's work, and Jerry Huntman orchestrating the whole thing. One of the bits that rose up out of all these wonderful different story ideas was Human Fly was a real figure.
Right.
Okay. Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Dracula III, was a real figure. We're probably doing a record here of some, breaking a record, Chad. Real life person, the comicized versions of those. But they're both former Marvel headliners.
They are, yeah.
Have their own comics.
Yeah.
This is just so damn meta. It's absolutely fantastic fun. You got the historical, and as I've already said, despite botching my reference of dates, Jim's gone for the history. Dracula's got a fascinating history. You got these meta-fictionalized versions. You got the Marvel dimension.
Right.
And obviously we're not Marvel, etc. But people can imagine as much as they choose how much our Human Fly is the Marvel Human Fly, or how much this Dracula is embracing of all other Dracula fictional continuities. But it's fun. And like those John K. Snyder covers, homages, Marvel, you're going to see some stuff there that you're going to love.
I mean, I really enjoyed the first series, and so I bought every issue. Have a couple questions. How did it do? How were sales on that first issue?
Look, the first series did not go too badly at all, especially since it was our first superhero book. And we're not a company with a superhero track record. We're a horror fan. Whereas a book publishing company, we're a horror, fantasy, and science fiction thing. And look, I'll be quite frank, one of the strong discussion points was, look, that was well received critically, but we're not known for this kind of material. And, with Tony, Babinski, and Alan opening up the world of the Fly, there was one element of what Tony's notes to us were that I can't talk about in detail, but it was a big entree into those big fictional universe sort of ideas.
Right.
And historical fiction ideas. And we realised it was a gateway into speculative fiction, science fiction, fantasy, and horror, which we like anyway. And so when we're chucking around ideas for Series 2, and the Dracula thing was in there, it was like, yeah, there's no reason we can't have the supernatural or the metanatural in there. That fits with everything.
Right.
So that fits with our brand. That fits with an expansive sort of approach to costume action and science fiction and supernatural. And it was just like, we got to do this. We've got to do. So that decision was, let's open it right up and embrace all those kind of things of spec fiction storytelling. He'll still be the Fly.
Right.
Will still be like a Batman or a Daredevil, and they fought their share of supernatural villains over the years. Right? They'll still be grounded characters. Fly will be grounded. The Fly's apprentice Mercury still remain very grounded, but the territory that these stories can go in is just opened right up, and it's really fun. And look, I guess that was the thing with the Kickstarter. It was like, we're a small company, we're a new company for comics, but 15 years for books. Crowdfunding is, Chad, it's like a whole extra channel of both sales and advertising and marketing.
Yeah. We know a lot of companies are doing that now. We have actually a couple of people we've interviewed within the last couple of months, and they're all doing crowdfunding comic books too now. It's become big.
And look, and it makes sense because, obviously you put a comic out through, Luna Comics distribution into the comic book stores, you get quite a lot of coverage and quite a lot of sales. You do crowdfunding, in raw numbers, you do less.
Right.
But, what we also learned, because we've got a brilliant guy who I should have mentioned before, Steve Kay, a.k.a. Steve Cock. He's doing a lot of managing and guidance on our crowdfunding because he's done a lot of it before with indie comics. And he's an absolute whiz at this stuff, and he understands the marketing concepts, and he understands very much what there are people who only buy books from crowdfunding.
No, comic book collectors love the extra stuff. We love that there's extra too.
So we chucked a ton of extras. People can check it out on the Kickstarter page. We've put a heap of really cool extras there. There's a very juicy Jim Krueger one-on-one 45-minute writing school.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you are a would-be writer and you want advice from the best, jump in and grab. There's only a couple of those. Jim is a fantastic fellow, very nice guy. Yeah, where are you going to get that? You're never going to get that. So we put in some specific ones like that. We put some trading cards, mini posters, other bits and pieces. So we've taken Steve's advice, and we're following what the principle you just spoke to, which is people like the extras. We've created a bunch of extras. They won't, when and if we put this out in comics, of course, we won't have these extras. They will be different editions. So get it while it's hot type of thing is the order of the day.
And they're limited, so there's limited ones.
Limited.
Once they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah. So we learned that it's a powerful marketing tool. It's almost like a year or so early doing a giant marketing blast so that when a regular comic book store edition of Human Fly Volume 2 series does eventually appear, well, miles and miles after this crowdfunding, it won't have all that stuff, but that will be for a different market.
Right.
The people that just want the crowdfunding, and that's how they want it. Some of them, we've learned from Steve and other people, they don't even go to comic shops. They don't frequent comic shops. They just love the purchasing and the culture and the community of the crowdfunding world. There's a bunch of guys back home, Chad, who run a little, channel and a Zoom thing called the Aussieverse and Omniverse, and those guys, we chatted to them a little while ago, and they emphasise, look, we just dig the crowdfunded paperbacks and omnibus editions and special editions, and not only do they dig that format and that channel of making a purchase, but they said, we're really into supporting and helping good creations that are coming out through those channels.
It's indie comics. It's how indie comics are being made now.
Yeah, that's right. So it's the new way. It's a new channel. And
there's no restrictions on that. So you're doing what you want to do with when the crowdfunding comes in. You don't have to worry about who's funding you and what it's coming directly from the people who are going to buy it from you.
That's right. That's right. So look, when Jerry Huntman started IFWG Publishing 15 years ago, it was a very small model, and he slowly built it up with better and better authors and better projects and really cool novels and anthologies, etc. And he was doing sales on Amazon and internet and web-based stuff. And then he graduated to print distribution around the world, and he had sophisticated and he went from distributor to distributor as his weight improved, and our books are distributed internationally these days through the largest independent book distributor in the world, IPG Books in Chicago.
Right.
They don't do comic stores, so we had Diamond and Luna, but we've dropped Diamond because it's gotten too difficult with their problems.
Yeah, we know.
So we've got the largest comic book shop distributor in Australia. Our books sell in the bookstores through the largest Australian independent bookstore, and of course, the comic shops via Luna. We're on Global Comics for internet versions of our comics, and crowdfunding is an extra channel.
Right.
And we would be foolish, and we would be ignoring a bunch of excited, enthusiastic, loyal comic book fans if we didn't migrate over to crowdfunding. This is our second. We did, and this sort of shows about our relationship with our creators, mate. We did, Jerry's published books for many years by a brilliant American writer named David Bowles.
Okay.
He's in Texas. And David writes YA fantasy and grown-up stuff as well. His kids' books sell massive amounts, very popular. He's got a fantasy series called The Smoking Mirror.
Right.
Gorgeous stuff, right? Now, David loves horror, and he's pals with a guy you may have heard of called Drew Edwards, who does a comic called Halloween Man.
Okay.
Now, they came to us a while ago and said, we've got a modern comic book take on old slasher movies. But it's sophisticated, it's intelligent, it's gory, and plenty of people dropping dead with axes in their heads and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But it's thriller, it's social commentary, it's a bunch of other things, it's regional, and it was like, this is genius. This is powerful and different. And probably would have been not for every publisher, but it was good for us, and we just love David anyway. So the series is called The Matron, which is the name of this very scary figure that haunts the places in this storyline. And we crowdfunded that some months ago.
Right.
First crowdfund we've done as a company. Steve Kay helped us run it, and that reached its goal. We're very happy. It was a modest goal, but it's the first time we've done it. And Human Fly is our second one, and Human Fly's it's still halfway through, but it's hit its slightly higher target, and it's moving a bit faster. So we sort of think, yeah, we're improving on this. We're getting the word out, and we're getting better at it. And it's a valuable, viable customer channel. We've got to respect it, mate. We've got to,
you have to embrace it.
Yeah, we've got to embrace it, understand it, and it'll be part of our formula for not every project, but a lot of projects we're going to do.
You have to do that now. You really do.
Yeah.
As an independent comic company, you have to do that now. And then finding a lot of success.
That's right. So we're learning. And look, but obviously I'm full of excitement about this because this is just so cool. It's, superheroes, but, turned up to 11 with the supernatural element, where it's a big joke. It's like two Marvel headliners.
Right.
Having a face and they both had comic books of their own in the 1970s. So,
I think I loved it when I first saw it that he was doing Dracula, and I'm assuming that this isn't the end. So after this series, we'll see more down the road.
Look,
this is the beginning.
This is just the beginning. We have a fantastic writer, Dana Brower, Brawer. She's written for TV. She worked on the George R.R. Martin TV series of Nightflies, I think, and she worked for Impact Theory Comics. She's going to do volume 3 of The Human Fly, and I won't say what that's about.
So you already have a volume 3 plan. That's good. So that's fantastic to hear.
Yeah. So and again, it'll be Human Fly, but it'll be like, wow, let's just grab something exciting so the fans can go, there's a wow factor there.
Right.
I won't go into whether it's science fiction, fantasy, or horror, or what it is, but there's going to be an element there that Dana's going to bring to the show, and people are going to go, wow, there's some cool stuff going on. And she's got some, thoughtful, contemplative sort of things she's bringing to the project as well. Yeah. This is the thing. Well, look, we love, our superhero punch-ups, but we're into fiction that offers something for the brain as well.
We want good stories.
We want
stories that make sense.
Yeah, well, stories that make sense, and we want, things with a bit of meat there, Yeah, there was a lot of, as you saw in issues 0 to 4, there was a lot of tension and thought going in, particularly about all that stuff about the tension and the secrets of members of the Fly's team.
Right.
The things that they were all wrestling with. And we tried to do some interesting commentary on various different extreme aspects of politics on the entire west coast of America, going down from Canada to Mexico in Series 1. And we had that complex villain, Firesword. The leader of his own militia in Volume 1.
Right.
And, look, there's nothing wrong with stories that are just superhero punch-ups or, vampire hunters, killing the undead or whatever. Nothing wrong with that, but that's not what we do. We want the stories that you can think about,
Right.
pull out later on and give it a second and a third read and go, that was pretty cool. There's stuff there for me to think about without bashing me over the head with any particular, preaching.
Right.
We just want, deeper stuff. Oh, okay, there's a tension between these characters. That relationship is complicated, etc. Just like real life, mate. It's not just a punch in the face. We're all people are complex, relationships are complex. The difficulties we've got to face are complex, and those are the stories that you remember.
They definitely are. The punch-ups, there's so many of them. It's the literature that you don't forget, that you go back to, that you want to see more of, that, I can't get enough of.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember who first said it to me, but somebody once said to me a long, long time ago, something to the effect of, it's not the punch in the face of the hero to the villain that makes you cheer. What you cheer for and get emotional about is because the writers and artists have shown you what is important and why that hero needs to win that battle or needs to lose that battle.
Right.
If he loses it. What's going through their lives and the context around them, and who'll be hurt and who'll be helped by the outcome of that fight. That's what you actually get that reaction from. It's the stakes of that pun. And pardon of that punch. And pardon the pun, but, Dracula on the fly, there'll be stakes, buddy. There'll be stakes, there'll be, silver, there'll be crucifixes, they'll all be there.
It sounds great, and you touched the point me, because Jim Krueger. I have a story about Jim Krueger from many years ago. He wrote Justice for DC Comics.
Yes.
Right, and at the time he was writing that, I was working in Manhattan, and he's actually the first creator I ever reached out to. So I reached out to Jim Krueger when he was working on that. Just told him how much I was enjoying the series. Happens so that he lived about 3 blocks from where I was working at the time. And he invited me over, and I brought my comic books, and he signed issues of Justice for me in person in his apartment. It's got to be 20-something years ago now.
Look, he is the loveliest of people. We met at the San Diego Comic Con.
Right.
I was a fan of his stuff, and he was doing something. I think he was doing portfolio reviews, but maybe even for Impact Theory. Anyway, I saw him there. I walked by, and I thought, I got to talk to that guy. And I just went up and introduced myself, said hi, big fan of your stuff. I might have had a couple of things I'd done I was working on with me at the time. And we swapped information, and we just stayed in touch. And then every time I came to LA, we'd usually meet at San Diego or, catch up elsewhere or whatever. And, we knew what to do. So I've got to give a plug. Last year, we released Jim's first collection of short stories.
Okay.
Haunted Christmas, right? And Jim cleverly designed the book as a half set of creepy advent calendar story windows. This year, we're publishing for Christmas this year, Volume 2, that completes this literal advent calendar of horror stories. We mentioned John Snyder before.
Right.
John Snyder has done the covers for both, and they sort of become a lovely sort of advent calendar look. So we haven't solicited, or did we? I think we've solicited volume 2, but I don't know if it's come out on the Lunar page yet. But yeah, we'll be plugging that one because it'll hit stores, I think, December 1.
Okay.
So that's another great one. If people Google Jim Krueger, Oh Haunted Christmas, the frankincense monster. How's that?
That's great.
Frankincense Monster, Oh Haunted Christmas by Jim Krueger. If you Google it, you'll find references to where you can buy the book. It's distributed by IPG Books. If you go to the IPG Books website, and if you got one of those friendly local comic book shops or science fiction bookshops, any big bookshop, you print out the IPG page and the web URL. Any bookshop in America can order already Jim's Volume 1, and they're clever, creepy, twisted. So there's also a story in there. I'm just trying to remember the title. Is it The Doll or The Mother's Doll? It's got the word doll in the title.
Right.
It's a true story, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. Yeah. So that's Volume 1. You can get that now, but in time for Christmas this year will be Volume 2. That's kind of a fun thing, a side effect, Chad, of working for a book publisher who wanted to start doing comics.
Right.
And that is, Jerry asked me to set up the comic book business for him a couple of years ago, but he was already doing books. And by doing that, we've actually, some of the relationships, as I mentioned, Jim is doing comics, but we got him to do a few short stories before comics. He did a couple of killer short stories in my Dracula Unfanged collection, in Nosferatu Unbound. These are all still available in print. They got many cool authors, international authors' names you would recognise. Dracula Unfanged, Nosferatu Unbound, the most recent Into the Cthulhu Universe. Lovecraftian stories in other fictional realms, which I co-edited with my Nosferatu Unbound co-editor Steve Paulson. Jim's in all of those. So we got that relationship. Great novel and short story writer Nancy Holder. She's written for me several times. She and another writer called Alan Phillipson, who wrote a story in Dracula Unfanged called War with the Mafia. A vampire story called War with the Mafia, right? I won't say what it's about because I want people to go out and order it, but we're doing a comic book version of it.
That sounds great.
Because, and this is just the joy of working with talented people who write words that move you.
Right.
Alan wrote this story, War with the Mafia, and I put that story down after reading it, and besides ringing Jerry and saying, well, that's in, that's just in, right? I said, you want to do comics, Jerry? I just read a short story that reads like issue 1 of a 4-part miniseries. It's that good. And as I said, so if any of you are fans of Nancy, because Nancy's co-writing the comic with Alan, I said, because I've any fans that hunt down the Nancy and Alan stuff, but it was a case of this just leapt off the page. I could see it illustrated. John Snyder's doing the covers for it. A brilliant, talented Aussie guy called Ben Sullivan's drawing it as we speak.
When is that coming out?
that one's probably more like early to middle of next year.
Okay.
But it was just like this stuff. They didn't ask to make it a comic. I went to them and said, "This is so good. It's so visual." And I've read. It was in a vampire collection, obviously, Dracula Unfanged.
Right.
And like, I'm a complete devotee of the vampire subgenre. Loved it, has loved it for decades. Read every anthology you could probably get your hands on. Read all the big authors, you know. And there was something about Alan's story that, to this seasoned old reader, it was fresh. It was jumping off the page fresh.
Well, you visualized it too. You saw it as a comic book as you were reading it. So can you get much better than that?
But it was just such a beautiful, and it's in some ways it's elegant in its simplicity of style, but yet it was just I just felt like this didn't seem like it's the same tired old cliches, even though, war with the mafia, okay, we're talking gangsters, we're talking murder and mayhem, and you're throwing in bloodsuckers as well. It was like, surely, we've seen this before, and yet felt 100% fresh, and I thought, we got to do it. We got to try and find the right art team and make it happen. And we've been working with Nancy and Alan, and I got to give them kudos, mate. It's and that's one of the joys of us publishing. Jerry and I have probably not become millionaires out of publishing speculative fiction. I wouldn't say no if we did, but just working with people who love the craft, who are good at the craft, and who deliver to the readers, something decent. I mean, and this is one of the intriguing things, not just about crowdfunding, but about comic book publishing and publishing in general. The boss, Jerry, has always, his secret, his formula, why he survives starting from zero to grow and not disappear, even in, a few economic, bounces that we've had around the world. It's all about quality.
Yeah.
Because we all can look at the crowdfunding pages and see some things and go, that looks terrible.
Absolutely.
That looks like they're not ready to shave yet, Yeah. They're putting stuff out there, and they're putting their name to it too early, before they've got their writing and editorial and art chops. And you still see it occasionally, even Marvel and DC. Every now and again, they'll put something out and go, how did that one get past? Right? What Jerry's all about, and what makes me pleased to be on his team, is, if it doesn't give you that, this was pro level, right? This was moving, we shouldn't be putting it out.
Right.
Shouldn't be putting it out. Doesn't even matter if it's a big name. If it's not good, it shouldn't. I mean, my thing was, I used to read lots of those horror anthologies, that kind that were very popular back in the day. The late Marty Greenberg, American academic, used to edit dozens of them. Once a month they used to come out from Tall Books and Door Books and all those different publishers. And Marty's books were great books. And he'd have, some names and some up-and-comers. And there might be one or two okay stories.
Right.
But there was always a few absolute gems examples of original, fresh, clever short stories. And, you know, we're always on the hunt for that original point of view, that cleverness.
That's good. That's what we want
Yeah.
as comic book consumers. That's what we want. We want good stories. I can't speak, but I'm getting older. I'm getting up in the years, and that's what I like. I like to read something that has a really good story behind it. Like you said, it doesn't matter who wrote it or who drew it. A good story is a good story.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I'll wax on about this again. That's another part of our formula. If you have a look at, for example, if it's going to the IPG Books website and putting IFWG, and you look at a lot of our anthologies, you'll see some big names.
Right.
You'll see one or two names you think, unless you're Australian, you might think, I've never heard of them, right? But what we do, if somebody's got the chops, right, and that story is good, that's all I care about. And this is our chance to expose those people to an international audience and elevate and fast track their careers. Because if they've written a story that's good enough to be in a book alongside Jonathan Marbury, Dacre Stoker, whatever, we want that.
Right.
Because, we've got, and we've Jerry sort of semi-discovered a few people. There's a young woman called J.M. Merritt, who's been in a couple of Jerry's books. He did a series called Spawn, edited by brilliant editor Deborah Sheldon, so it wasn't my stuff. And I've got Spawn 2 here up on the bookshelf.
Okay.
And this one had, and this was really interesting. This is the same approach. She did an open call for stories, and it was just on quality. She picked the people in there on quality alone. And so some of the names were established, but others were, virtually brand new. And so, she's done Spawn 1, Spawn 2, a book called Killer Creatures. And so J.M. Merritt has been in some books there, and she's into the Cthulhu universe as well. And sort of we're not the only people she's written for, bit of a discovery, but smart, switched on, just talented writer. And when we get the chance to discover the gems of people in the early steps of their career, that's damn cool, man.
It really is. You're the ones who gave them the break. That is really cool. You're giving someone a chance.
And look, if they get to be in a book alongside a Dacre Stoker or a Jim Krueger, even better.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a lot going on. Like
we do, and
which is great.
Yeah, and I got a few projects, a few irons in the fire as well. I'm finishing up Dark Detective Sherlock Holmes. We're on volume 2 of that now in the comic shops. The storyline currently is called The Knights, as in Knights, The Knights of Frankenstein.
Right. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, we're having a ball with that one. And that one's cool because unlike Volume 1, Volume 2 has never been published outside of newsstands in Australia. And then the company that did publish it closed down its comic stuff before we'd finished. So this is the first time ever that story's been offered to the world and had an ending. So very pleased about that one. And Jan Scherpenhausen, who drew Human Fly 0 to 4, great artist, he and I are teaming up on a project, our next comic book collaboration. And if you're a Lovecraft fan, you are gonna flip.
That sounds good. And I loved his art on the Human Fly series, and he was nice to talk to in the last interview too. He's
Lovely
like,
guy, lovely guy. Yeah, no, he's one of the most decent people I know. So, yeah,
you're busy,
and yeah, he's a smart guy too, now. So when he and I talk, stories of art, it's a case of, he always wants to add something more,
right?
And we can sit down and like some of those human flies. We sat down and we would have a cup of coffee, and I would have a beat sheet that I'd sent to him of the layout of the story.
Right.
Right? Yeah, it'd be like page 3, 5 panels, this has got to be in them. But we sat down and we could go, okay, with a piece of paper, if I did a layout like this, what about if I did this bit? And I go, yeah, that's cool. And we actually did a few things where we said, I did a really loose notes on the plot for like a double-page spread, and I said, and let's just scribble it out over coffee. And there was an issue there where we had a quick bunch of stuff of scenes of the human fly doing totally amazing stunts in different real locations. And we did them over coffee on the table, and it was like, okay, he's skiing through a deadly slope with these deadly blades, and I'll spin it across the page, and yeah, it was good fun. So I like working with Jan because we can sort of, we sort of joke about it. We can get all Steranko on each other's asses. We can go, okay, we've got to tell a story, and we've got to move the story along, but in terms of, Steranko would design a look of a page or a double-page spread. The same way you'll probably know every now and again Neil Adams would do something like that famous Dead Man page he did that looked like a giant dead man head. Yeah, Dan and I can sit down and we can tick it up 5% by going, is there a cool layout to be found with this scene? Is there a way to depict this? And he's the art guy, so he knows whether it can be pulled off or not.
Right.
But we'll sort of jam it together, so we want to do something in the Lovecraftian sphere, and I can't tell you what it is because I tell you 20 other guys will rush into production tomorrow.
You come back on and tell us.
But Lovecraftiana is a big territory, so and what we're going to do with it is different. But it's rife for ideas and intellectualism as well as palpitating horror.
Right.
So
that's great.
We'll have a ball with it.
That's all we want.
Yeah, exactly. So look, and we are having some fun over here at IPL.
Sounds like you are. Sounds like you're really enjoying it.
And look, really appreciate your support.
Oh, anytime.
Your channel support. And
you have an open invitation anytime you want to come on.
Lovely. And as we were talking before we came on, I'm having a bit of surgery at the moment, so that's why I'm doing my own masked man thing. But I got a couple of operations I've got to have, and then I'll probably, with a bit of luck, I'll probably make a trip to the US again next year.
Good.
And if there's half a chance, brother, I'll try and get over to your side of the country.
That would be fantastic. I'd love to meet you in person. That would be great for me.
Good